Everyone, this is JJ Humphrey. Hey, I'm with Bobby Cleveland. We're back on Elephant in the Room today. We've got a very, very special guest. Kindsey's joining us today. We're very glad to have Kindsey. Kindsey has got an amazing story that I think affects everyone in Oklahoma, but especially those in the northeastern part of Oklahoma. Guys, this is going to be something. I go all over the state. I'm campaigning for lieutenant governor. I'm talking to people all over the state. One of the biggest, hugest problems that people are up against is property tax going up, especially our elderly. There are people that are really, up against it. They're scared they're going to lose their house, scared they're going to lose their property, can't afford to keep up, and the property tax keep going. And so she's got an amazing story. She's leading a charge, fighting a fight up there, a really great battle. So, Kindsey, tell us what's going on. And this is Mayes County, right? But it's also not just Mayes County. It's pretty much that green country all up there, kind of northeastern part of the state, right?
Yeah. First off, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. Glad to have you.
So I guess I want to start at the beginning because I want you guys to understand how this all began and where I started to see that there was discrepancy and mismanagement in this particular county. That's possibly very different than other counties because I own property in other counties. So I want to tell you one of my main concerns about property tax in general is I'm a mother. And I work exceptionally hard, own what I own. And at the rate that property tax is increasing in Mayes County, it goes up the max every single year. And it'll go up the max until after I'm dead. And it would go on my properties and it would go up the max through a portion of my children's lives. And so that's a doubling factor.
Hey, can I stop you right there? I thought, now, Bob, you correct me if I'm wrong, because Bob knows a little more about this than I do, but I thought that we could only go up on property tax like every 3 years. I didn't think they could go year after year. Am I wrong on that?
No, yeah. They can go year after year.
Wow. Okay. All right. I stand corrected. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's two categories that you're thinking of. And so there's a taxable fair market value, and then there's a fair market value. So in Mayes County, for instance, I bought an office in downtown Adair, if you call it downtown Adair, for $100,000. I put $60,000 into the building. And so one could argue that we would have a starting point of $260,000. Okay. The market, which is the job of the assessor, this is endowed authority based on an elected official, and it is her sole job and it's her sole commitment to make sure that she produces a fair market value assessment. Well, fair market value has to consider the market, which is calculated via comps. Okay, so obviously comparable sales is how you're going to establish market values. And I'm only going to discuss one of my properties, but I'm going to tell you any overassessed. This is how this all started. My properties year after year were overassessed. Year after year overassessed. This season for me, when you have to fight your property taxes, is also tax season, and I own a tax firm. This is a very busy time for me. And so year after year, this would come around. I'd be furious. I'd call the assessor's office and where are you getting these numbers? How are you getting these assessments? There's no comps that show this. And I would be referred to an individual who was a contractor. But let me preface this. I didn't know he was a contractor. The assessor's office would point you to this individual who does not work for the county, is not an elected official, and contracts out for field assessment to the county. But I didn't know this all these years. And go ahead.
No, I didn't ask anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So, although I will say this, now contracting, as long as they do it appropriately, correct me if I'm wrong, Kindsey, but if he's qualified and they do a proper bidding process or a proper contracting process, they can do a third party, correct?
They cannot in the negotiations or protesting of a property. And the reason for that is she can deputize a deputy in her office who does work for the county, who can help her with assessments, but that elected official, that county assessor, is responsible for your assessment. So you can't bestow a deputy position to a contractor. So can he field assess? He can field assess. He can go around and help her in the field, but he cannot negotiate. It's a violation of state statute. He can't forge the county assessor's signature. He can't electronically forge the county assessor's signature. And that's what's taken place in Mayes County. And then
just 1 second.
Yep.
Where's the excise board at in this?
Yeah. So let me finish really quick because I want you to hear exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
Right.
So for instance, on my office starting point of an assessment, I bought it for $200, put 60 in it. It was assessed at $800,000, and then they applied depreciation. Depreciation bounced around at really kind of whatever they wanted. 1 year it was 55%, 1 year it was 35%. So my fair cash value was bouncing around in between 500 to 550, but the fair market value in Adair was significantly less, 160% less. And so year after year, I would call and I would address my concerns. But because it was tax season, I never took it to a place that I guess it's required in Mayes County to get a rightful assessment. So I was directed to this contractor to negotiate my property. Before I was addressed to him, before I was positioned to him, an individual came to my property and nobody was home, and they're in unmarked vehicles in Mayes County and they don't have any identifications at all. My father met the individual and he was, walking up to a barn that I had recently built. And my dad says, "Hey, can I help you? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm with Mayes County Assessor's office." They're not with Mayes County Assessor's office. They're with Green Country Valuation. We work for the county assessor's office. Why is that so important? Because the county is not liable for these individuals. The liability falls with and upon Green Country Valuation. You need to know that as a citizen of any county, if they're using a contracted company to field assess, they're not with the county. The county is not liable. So if your dog bites that individual or they fall or they get hurt, who is liable? And who's making sure that that insurance is up to date? Because a lot of times the county's not. So this individual proceeded to tell my father when he said, "Hey, you're going to have to come back. My daughter and my son-in-law are at home." And he said, "Well, I don't need your permission to assess this property." Well, that didn't go over too well with my father. He's pretty old school and he knows his private property rights. So the individual did leave eventually. And so after I've had all these issues with the values of my property, I have heard and learned that many people have had very poor interaction with what we're being told our deputy field inspectors from Mayes County, that they're not. None of what they're saying is accurate.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
So this evaluation company is contracted to the county. Are they legally contract? I mean, is it a handshake? Is it spit in your hand and shake, or is it actually a contract? Did they open that contract up to bid? How did they get that contract?
Well, it's, we've asked for a lot of open records requests. We're just now getting some of those back after a very, long wait. It is my understanding that he used to be a deputy assessor for the deputy's office in Mayes County. So it is my understanding that for a very long period of time, he worked for the county.
Now, where is the excise board?
I'm going to tell you. So I have records that date back to 2017. That's based on statute. So 2017, I get my open records request based on minutes. He went contract before that, but I can't tell you the exact date quite yet. But I could read that no, they never took his contract to bid. So he at some point stopped working for the county and probably was a deputy field inspector for the county and started his own company or took over a family business that did this. And he landed the contract, but it never went to bid. And it's required because he's not a certified appraiser. He has no qualifications to actually appraise property. So no contract went to bid. It was just a close at arm's agreement. He knew everybody in the office. They gave him the contract. Where this gets very, very, very disheartening is that if you work for the county of Mayes County, their handbook reads, and it would be common sense that you would background check people who you're going to give authority or bestow authority to go on people's property. But because they've sourced this out to a third party, we've got a gap here, and we have people coming on our property that are not background checked. And based on our most recent open records request findings, we have a convicted felon coming on our property, which is the exact individual that my father and my pastor actually got into an altercation with on their property. Because this individual believes that they don't require our permission to assess our property.
Well, now I was told by several people, in fact, me and Bob's got a good friend who was talking about that one of those individuals has got like multiple convictions, like 5 convictions, is jumping over the fence and going in, actually told a police officer that he had more authority than the police officer, if I understood that right. My friend, he's pretty ticked off. He's got a video of him up there under his garage port trying to look around, prowl around, and here's a 5-time convicted felon prowling around his property. The only reason he knows is because he's got video cameras up and caught him video camera, So again, he's pretty fired up. He's mad about, that they should do a better job vetting their employees and having people out who they have around his house. He's also upset that they came through, up to his property without any kind of permission.
Yeah. So his story is a dime a dozen. That's what they truly tell people. And Mayes County's been conditioned in some fashion to believe this. And so I was told directly, because that individual that day, the convicted felon, wasn't allowed to assess my property. I met with the owner of Green Country Valuation. He actually drove to my home, and on the spot on my property, he tried to negotiate my assessment while he was there. What does that mean? Well, this contractor, who does not have the right to negotiate property, starts asking me, "Hey, Kindsey, well, what do you think your home is worth?" What do you mean, what do I think my home is worth? Have you pulled comps? I mean, the market establishes what my home is worth. I'm confused here. And eventually what I realized throughout that conversation, he handed me a yellow piece of paper. It recognized himself, and he recognized himself on this piece of paper that he handed me, that he was a field deputy inspector with Mayes County. If I refused, or my father refused, an assessment in the future, he informed me that I would lose my right to protest. He also informed me that he was above the law, that he does not require a search warrant, and that he can assess my property at any time.
Now, wait a minute. When we're talking property, this is all on the outside. He's not wanting to go into the house or into your office and look around at that. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's just wanting to assess the outside of the property, measure the house, and virtually get an assessment to verify that square foot, verify that condition of the home is what they have record of it.
Hey, Kindsey, if he'd asked Bob that question, what's his house worth? Bob would have said $1. That's what guarantee you. He said,
Yeah.
well, last week is worth $1, but this week I think it's 50 cents or something like that.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Do you have more you want to say, or are you going to wait to later?
Yeah, I think I think where I want to go with this, just so we stay streamlined, because this has been muddied. But let me be very clear: a contractor cannot come on your property without your permission. A contractor, whether or not the county says, or nobody has authority over you on your property without a search warrant. So let's be clear. Private property rights still exist in this country and in this state, and I'll stand on those. No felon is ever going to believe that they have more rights on my property than me. And if I don't want them to assess my property, I can promise you in Mayes County, that's going to stop. We're going to be informed who's coming on our property. You're going to be appropriate to be on my property, and I'm going to trust that you're a human being who will cause and do no harm and has done no harm. The next thing that I have realized, and when so many red flags went off in my head, this contractor, who is not the county assessor, had full authority from his laptop right from his pickup and was adjusting my numbers on my home. And when I saw that, and I was asking questions, and I was trying to better understand this process, I thought to myself, my God, this sole individual right in front of me, who is not my elected official, who is not hired by the county, he's not even an employee, he's not even liable for these numbers that he's entering. He has full control over my taxes. This is insane. This is pure insanity. When I left that meeting, I was incredibly disheartened. I thought to myself, what if my children don't understand private property rights like me? What if my children doesn't understand taxes like me? Right now, if I work my life away and my children inherit the property that I own, and they come back to be a teacher coach, they can't afford my property tax. And that's what my oldest may do. Whenever I shed light on my concern, the response was, well, then they don't deserve the property. So here's where we are in Mayes County. Can we all agree that we don't like property tax? Yes. Can we all agree that there's probably a fundamental basis that property tax violates tax law? Yes. You're paying tax on unrealized capital gain. I'm not going to get into technicalities, but in Mayes County, what has happened this year to me and to a police officer was a contracted individual adjusted our tax assessment. He signed off on the assessment as the assessor. On every single assessment that has been done that way in Mayes County, that's a void assessment. But because Mayes County's income is so high, our carry forward is $40 million. Oklahoma City's is $16 million.
Wow.
Because that's so high, and they all knew that this was happening. Every one of them. Every one of them had been warned. Every one of them knew that this was wrong. But it was easier because the girls in the office didn't want to deal with negotiating property tax. They would defer it to this contractor who would have these conversations.
Hey, Kindsey, does that contractor get paid a percentage of whatever he grows that tax base?
I would just say it's not a percentage, but I would say in 2017, he started out making $108,000. And today, this year, the highest he's ever made is 246, but he's doing 10,000 parcels a year and he's at 220. So from 2017, he was at 108 to this year, he's at 220. Our assessment office is spending right around $900,000 a year to assess our property, and they're assessing them wrong. I don't shy away from that. What do I mean by that? They are intentionally disregarding market correction. So back to my office. I protest my property. I pull comps from Adair in Mayes County on a commercial building. It shows my comps and my office building in Adair. The max that it's selling for is $38 a square foot. Okay. Because they don't want to drop my assessment down that, because that confirms what I'm saying, which would have set my property at $270,000. They originally had me at 800 plus depreciation. I was around 540. They didn't want to drop it to 270 because that makes it, they know that that's a little bit too outlandish. They go out, they disregard my comps from Mayes County, and the sitting county assessor goes and pulls comps as far as Ottawa County and comps outside of my county to justify a higher price per square foot on the market. Now, what was that? Well, people have lost their license for that. If you're a certified appraiser, people have been reprimanded for that. If you go and you intentionally gather comps that are not comparable to set a fair market value, that is wrong. You cannot do that. And you're reprimanded for that. And so there's case law to that. And so I have that. And so they are fighting against the people so hard that they will take comps, the only comps, they will disregard them, and they will spend time to find comps outside of our county to justify the values.
Well, did you
Can't
take
do
that
that.
up? Like,
Now he's
go
just
ahead,
supposed
Bob.
to be. He's not supposed to be assessing. You're assessing. He's just going out there and it says it's 10 by 10 or 20 feet or whatever. He's not. It's not his job to do that. His job is just to go out there and measure.
That's correct.
Period. He can't come in your house. He can't come in your garage.
Yeah.
He can just,
Well, they most definitely, there's definitely pictures and stuff of them online, you know, going past that. But of course, they're going to go past that. They're not background checked. They're convicted. You know, there's no realm of reason here whatsoever. But let me be clear. Forging an elected official's signature, whether electronically or not, is a felony. Let me be even more clear. To intentionally disregard market adjustments as an assessor and to allow an individual without that endowed authority while raising and increasing people's taxation, which is a collection of money, is fraud. And so we're at a place where, first, I'm 100% going to bring forth correction because my children want to live in this county, and I'm going to fight like I'm a mother.
now,
did you protest like Bob asked a while ago about the excise board? Did you go and protest with the excise board?
I do this year. An excise board member came to see me. And so when all of this first broke out, you know, they violated many statutes. There's a list long of statutes that have been violated. And they've done this wrong for so long, and they've conditioned the citizens of Mayes County to become lukewarm with some of this stuff and believe that this is normal, that even they had a hard time believing this was a big deal. So an excise board member came to see me, super nice guy. I had a great conversation with him, but in the midst of our conversation, he said, "Oh, we know that's wrong. We've told the assessor's office and the girls in the assessor's office to stop doing that. You know, they just don't want to deal with tough conversations, so they make the contractor deal with that conversation."
Right. That's what it sounds like. They're just letting the contractor do the entire process. I mean, they just stepped out, drawing a check, checked out, and let him handle it. And he gets in a lot of money. They give him a little extra money. All's good, except unless you're on the paying end. All good on the receiving end, not so good on the paying end, it sounds like.
Yeah. So I do have open records acts from protest, and there's a tremendous amount of protests in Mayes County annually. They do go in front of the board, and I have read letters. I've read testimony of people's experiences. I have them. I've had people turn them into me. Their experience reads as if it's terrible. There's women stating that they left, you know, the courthouse bawling. They were crying. They were super intimidated. They didn't adjust their property. There's a woman who wrote a letter. I was in tears. I mean, this is whenever I thought, yeah, not on my watch. This is over. What's going on here is over. This woman went to protest her property. She showed pictures that, her house needed repair. Her roof had leaked. Her floors were warped. She had to replace all kinds of stuff, and condition matters. You can't very well say that every house in a neighborhood is worth the exact same per square foot if the condition of the home, and you prove that there's repairs done. And so she takes all this to the excise board. She shows them pictures. And by the time she's done with them, she leaves bawling. They didn't care what they said. They told her that she would need an attorney. And in order to get this corrected, she'd have to file a lawsuit.
So now you have filed a lawsuit, correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you in the process, or have you actually filed one?
No, I filed a lawsuit. Yes.
Are you the only
who have
person?
you filed a lawsuit against?
So I'm suing the county in general, and then depending on their response, if I have to take my lawsuit further. And at this point in time, I've tried to deal with this outside of filing a lawsuit for 4 months. I started sending emails to the assistant district attorney, to the assessor. I've tried to handle this outside of doing it like this. But, for whatever reason, they're going to try to brush it under the rug, and I'm not going to let them. So a lawsuit was filed, and everybody required to be named to sue the county is named. And then if we've got to take it a step further and correction doesn't get brought to the place that it should be brought, we'll bring in every party that's involved.
Okay, so did you get a chance to talk to the excise to your excise board? How many members you have there?
Yeah, I go in front of the excise board for this year for my properties that even after I protested, it was ridiculous. My concerns were intentionally disregarded. I'm going to show them how disorderly the internal controls are in the office. I have dates missing on my assessment sheets. You can't tell rhyme or reason on any of this. I mean, she can't answer your questions. And so in June, I go in front of the excise board, to show them further.
How many is on the board?
3, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the excise board does know this. The excise board member admitted to knowing this.
Now they could adjust it themselves. They have the right to adjust it, but they got to look at just what you're saying, your comps.
Yeah, but see, they say the bearer of proof is in Mayes County, the bearer of proof is on the taxpayer. So they're using replacement cost. So they're using a mass appraisal system, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay to start, but you've got to make a market adjustment. So if you have the police officer, because I've read so many protests, I've just done discovery after discovery and saw so much wrongdoing. A 1980 home built in 1980s is not worth $181 a square foot if the market doesn't show that it is.
Right.
If the market doesn't provide substantial evidence that replacement cost is substantiated, you're overassessed. And what they're looking at is, and what they say is, well, what would you sell it for today? Well, it's not for sale. Well, what would it cost you to rebuild? I haven't rebuilt it.
That's an issue, and you said it a while ago, is unrealized income. A lot of people don't understand this. We had all these Chinese come in and started buying a lot of property down around our area, I'm sure across the whole state. Property values jumped from, say, $3,000 to $9,000-$10,000 an acre. Well, that's all good and fine, but if you didn't sell, you didn't get that. So now they're saying you're worth a lot more money, but I ain't got no money. I didn't sell. I mean, so you're taxing me on something that I did not realize. And then are you going to go down? I mean, are you going to take that back when that property drops? because it's naturally, and it's already dropped quite a bit, almost back down to the original price that it was, probably 1,000 acres different. So again, do we come back and reassess that? So Newton was wrong. What goes up don't always come down. He didn't realize that taxes don't apply. Newton's theory doesn't work when it comes to taxes. So yeah. Well, let me ask you another question. You contacted the AG on all of this. What has the AG? I mean, has he weighed in? Is he backing you? Does he take your side? What has he said?
At this point in time, I'm grateful for his office. I want you to know that honestly, and I think I told you this individually, they've done everything that I asked them to do. And whenever I contacted the Attorney General's office, I just explained, hey, there's a contractor, going as far to tell people that he's above the law and doesn't require a search warrant. There's county assessors' offices still telling people right now that these individuals don't require your permission to be on your property. These individuals, and I, explained, they're not background checking these individuals. We can't even get an open record request showing who these people are that are being given this access to our property. And, we went into a little bit about the misevaluation, but mainly about forging the signature, about this guy making tax assessments and adjustments based on emotion. I could have negotiated my property that day on the spot with him. And the conversations that were set forth in front of me, I could have got my properties down. I could still do that for myself. I know for a fact that day in that conversation, he asked me if I was taking new clients. He asked me if I was taking new tax and wealth management clients. We can probably make a deal. I've heard a lot about you from some people. This is a handshake deal-making deal. This system set up right now in Mayes County, full discretion has been given to a contracted individual who has zero qualifications or elected, bestowed authority to do this.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When you went to the excise board and you presented your case, was he there?
I haven't been yet. I go in June.
Okay.
However, let me answer that real quick. The Attorney General's office did find wrongdoing. They did recognize the statutes that I said were wrong. They recognized those. They did send a letter to the district attorney's office, and they are bringing forth correction. And they did show me that communicate. I do know that has been communicated. Does the Attorney General's office understand the severity of what's taking place? They don't. They don't know that. That wasn't what I was seeking at the time that I asked him for his help. I wanted validation that the statutes were in fact violated based on my stance of how I was reading statute. I do read statute for a living because tax law is statute, right? So I was 99% confident. When I got that response back and that was validated, shortly after that, literally the day after those communications hit the district attorney's office, the county assessor herself puts out a public announcement that the Attorney General's office found no wrongdoing.
Now, I know in statewide, the tax commission is after all these counties to make sure they're getting up. They need more taxes.
Yeah.
More taxes. So they've asked them to make sure they're right and then, work hard. Now, in here in Cleveland County, they all use a drone. They don't have nobody comes around out there and looks at you.
Well, you had then the contractor wouldn't make almost $250,000 a year. So what are we going to do when that good old boy system falls apart because those handshake relationships aren't required, right? So Oklahoma City actually never does a physical assessment either.
Is Drummond going to meet with you to look at possible charge? I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of criminal. I mean, if there's forgery, if they forge, if they're doing illegal entry into properties, that's charged, maybe a misdemeanor. but that forgery is definitely a felony. I would think he would be all over this, not being certified, going on properties, that kind of thing. The failure, letting him negotiate. And we haven't talked. Does he have a legitimate? Did they actually do a contract with him? I mean, does do you know if he has a written contract? I know you said you're trying to get it.
I do have the contracts after, yes. But even his contract violates state statute. Are you ready for this? His contract states this is every county that works with this contractor. What I'm about to say is every county that works with this contractor. His contract states that he has the right to maintain the images and all the data that he gathers on your property as a contractor. State statute says you absolutely cannot maintain that. You have to hand that over 10 days from the time that season's over. He's got 10 days to give that to the county. His contract states that he can maintain that. Wouldn't it be interesting? And, this is coming because it's the county's job. It is your job as a representative. It is the government's job to provide safety to the citizens. It's your job. If you're going to,
Right.
That's your
No,
job.
I get that. I mean, hey, what we're talking about is violations, but here's been my experience with the AG. He's pretty good. He's pretty good about doing nothing at all lots of times. But at the same time, if you do have contact with him, tell him his pen pal wants him to jump on this. That's what he calls me. He's got I like old Drummond. He's got a really good personality. I really like him. I get very aggravated quite often because I turn in a lot of stuff, and I know I probably wear him out because, man, there's all kinds of corruption like this. This is corrupt, but this is so important because, again, I mean, you're okay financially, and I mean, yes, I get what you're saying with your kids, but I mean, if you were a single, widowed woman that was on Social Security, and didn't have extra income coming in, and they're jumping that up 11% or whatever they're jumping it every year, again, I mean, you're talking about they're putting people out on the streets. They're putting people in a bind, having to sell their property. It is wrong. It is wrong all kinds of different ways. And the fact that they're breaking the law to do it, not doing proper contract. I'm going to go through the list just kind of where people can, what I've heard you saying. So one, they didn't do a proper contract. Two, he's not certified to do the assessments. Three, he can't negotiate.
Hold on. He doesn't, to do field assessment, he doesn't have to be certified, but to not take the contract to bid, he has to be certified. So they violate every county that has worked with this contractor that didn't take his contract to bid is a violation. They're not reading the contract very well because this contract actually violates state statute in multiple areas. I believe he's doing the majority of the negotiations, and the actual, what we see criminal, where we're seeing criminal, I believe that only exists in Mayes County. I do not believe any other counties are allowing.
Well, let me ask you a question. If I want to get an assessment done on my house, I got to go get it certified. If the bank requires me to go get a certified assessor, I've had hell finding certified assessors. Had to get in line and wait for a long time. Bob, you had something you was going to ask. Go ahead.
Well, have you talked to the tax commission?
Yeah. So the OTC plays a very different role. This is where this is going to get very interesting. And I'm going to tell you that I'm willing to take it as far as I have to take it. The OTC's job in this as a regulator is to enforce the collection of tax. That's who they are, right? So the accuracy of the assessments, who's checking to make sure that people aren't overassessed? Who's checking to make sure that there are market adjustments being set forth? The OTC is not looking at that. That's not what they're looking at. They're looking at that they're not stalling out, meaning you go buy a property, JJ. This property was previously purchased before you 10 years ago for 50,000. You come in and you buy it for 200. 15 years later, they want you to hurry up and assess that property and capture that $200,000 cap. They're looking at the collection of taxation. It's the elected official's job. See, we're looking for somebody, who's regulating this. It's the elected official's job.
Right.
The buck stops with her.
Well, that's who people elected. Absolutely. Hey, I want to give you an example of something that happened to me, so that our listeners understand why is assessment. Why would you want certified? What's going on? So I told my wife, her and the contractor, I said, "Hey, y'all can tear this house." I was so stupid. I should have just built a new house, and then I could have had two houses. But I was like, I don't want to move. Y'all can tear this house down to the floor. I don't care, but I made them sign a contract for $85,000. You won't do any more than $85,000. They spent $35,000 tearing it down and tore it down to the floor. I mean, I had a floor out there. That's what I should have built a house. But anyways, I went to the bank and said, "Hey, can I sue my wife? You think it'd do any good to sue my wife and the contractor?" And he laughed. No. So about $250,000 later, I got this house, that they violated my contract. But here's what's funny. This is where it gets interesting. So you get the assessors to come out and they want to assess it like it's a brand new house. It's a brand new house. They want to say, "Hey, you added on this. It's brand new." Okay, they will assess it way up here. I go to the bank. Guess where the bank wants to assess it? They won't assess it because it's a 1960 something house because it's got a 1960 floor in it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, the hell you say? You're going to tell me my house is 3,500 square foot. These guys over here assessing it up here. Y'all's assessing it down here. Ain't that funny? The insurance, they assess it a totally different way. Everybody has a different assessment on that house. And again, that's why it's so important that we have an appropriate assessor who is qualified to do those comps. Cause that's what I finally had to go. I raised Cain with all of them. And I went out and found the comps myself and made them put, when you're talking about a 3,500 square foot home compared to a 3,500 square foot home. And sometimes in areas it's hard to find that. You may have to go to a little surrounding area. You shouldn't have to go all 45 miles. You know what I'm saying? When you're having to go 45 miles, you're not getting a proper, property is going to assess higher in Bryan County, Durant, than it does up here with us. And so again, that's why it's so important to get a proper assessment, get this right.
Right. So the incentive of one's heart, right? So the bank is the incentive, like think of the incentive, right? So the bank is liable. So if the bank loans you money and they can't get what they loan you out, they're out the money. The assessor's office, the intent of the heart, because the OTC sets regulation, they do not set taxation. Do not let any assessor lie to you. The assessor sets the fair cash value, which is where it's set. But the assessor, her intent, if she's, you got to watch it, right? Like there's got to be, the OTC wants collection. So they have no liability if they overassess you, right? So if you made the assessor's office write you a check, I bet they'd rethink your assessment. If the county
if they were going to be held responsible, they'd start thinking about it all day long in a different way. And that tax bunch, you know what, they're sitting up there at Oklahoma City and they want to see everybody have the same. I've tried to explain to them people up there, city folk like Bob, he's sitting on high dollar property. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And really, honestly, all joking aside, if you go right there in Oklahoma City and you look at a lot may bring more than 10 acres out here or say even 20 acres, But yet Oklahoma City Tax Commission wants me to pay Oklahoma City prices, and they don't care because they just want more money. That's all. And I've told ours, you tell them Oklahoma City tax assessors, that tax commission kick rocks, but they apparently they must be willing. They must have some pressure that I don't know. Because if I was there, I'd tell them kick rocks. But apparently, they've got some pressure.
What about your state representative or your state senator?
Yeah, we've emailed them all. They've all been notified many times. Our email correspondence goes
They've
throughout.
done nothing.
I've talked to them on the phone. No.
Hey, there's one little cowboy that's interested in. I mean, this is a big deal to me. I mean, this is a big story because I'm going all over the state, and I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest things. This is something I am being confronted with at every meeting. Property taxes is one of the biggest issues right now. I believe that. That's what I believe.
Yeah. So let's just in Mayes County as a whole has a lot of issues. There's been a lot of laws broke. There's been statute violations broke. There's many aspects of what's taking place in Mayes County that the citizens need to be challenging. You need to be calling up there and wanting the names of the individuals they have bestowed this thought that they don't require your permission and can jump your gates and your fences. You need to be challenging your assessments, and you need to be making sure that it's market comparable, that the market shows this to be true, because they're using replacement costs and they've admitted to that. But if you want to look at property tax in Oklahoma in general, I would just say this. I have clients all over the United States of America, everywhere. And the state of Oklahoma needs correction brought from a legislative position. And every single person who has the authority to act upon as an elected official upon their citizens, this should be high priority to you, because the state of Oklahoma has 5% state tax. The state of Oklahoma has increasing property taxation year after year because we as a people in 1997 actually voted for property taxation to be capped at 3 to 5% on the fair cash value. But in 2011, that went back to the Attorney General's office, and they decided to change the definition and application of it. And now the fair cash value can be set as high as they want it to be set at, and that taxable value can increase 3 to 5%. They put the word taxable in front of it.
Can I stop you right there? How did they go back and do that? Because if it went to a vote, I understood you, and I'm actually taking notes. So 1997, they went to a vote of the people. The people voted that it could not go up above 5%, correct?
3 on homestead, 5 on non-homestead.
That's where I'm getting that 3 and 5. That's okay. 5% on homestead. No, not on homestead.
3 homestead, 5 non.
Oh, 3% on homestead, 5 non. Okay. Now that's the vote of the people. Now, my understanding, Bob, help me out because you'll know this better than I do. They can't change something. The legislators can't change something that's a vote of the people without taking it back to a vote of people, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then how are we doing this then?
The actual question, the vote of the people, stated fair cash value. When it went back, it went 2 times, 2005, 2011, in front of the Attorney General. The OTC played a role. You can read about it. The OTC and the legislators, they changed the application and definition to taxable fair cash value. We as a people already voted on this. The vote literally laid this out, and we voted as a people to protect us from what's happening right now in the state of Oklahoma. Now, we didn't vote on what's happening in Mayes County because those statutes already existed. The law's being broken in Mayes County. The law's not being broken in every county in Oklahoma. But I would say this, as a legislator, I have clients all over the United States of America. I have a client who lives on a golf course in Houston, Texas. I do their tax return. I have permission to tell you this. Texas does not have state tax. Texas has property tax, and you'll hear rumored as an Oklahoman, oh, but Texas property tax is so high. Well, I have a client living on a golf course with every amenity that you can imagine, and it is not brought solely by their HOA. There's parks all over. There's sidewalks. You can ride your bike most places. This is through infrastructure. This is also the case in Arkansas. Exact same situation. They live in a $1.4 million home on a golf course in Houston, Texas. They pay 0 state tax. Their tax assessment is less, their tax due is less than a $700,000 home on a golf course in Owasso. Okay. Arkansas. Clients live in Arkansas. They live in a beautiful area. They have all the bike trails. They have parks. I actually have a list of all of this. This is what, if you want to fight property tax from this position, fight it from this position as a legislator. One, we've already voted on it as a people. They've misconstrued the application of the question. But two, other states are doing it better than you. He moves to Lake Hudson from Arkansas. His home in Arkansas was much more expensive, $300,000 more. He moves to Oklahoma. He lives on Lake Hudson in a house that's $700,000. The roads are terrible. The drainage is terrible. The infrastructure, we don't have parks. We don't have bike trails. We don't have walk trails. And his tax is more in Pryor, Oklahoma than it was in Fayetteville, Arkansas. With all
I'm just wondering why the people of the state of Oklahoma can't come back and sue, or a person could sue in behalf of the state of Oklahoma that the state is violating this tax. I got to check into that. That's very interesting to me. Hey, we're getting close to, man. I will tell you, Kindsey, we're gonna have to have you come back because really all we've got into is just your story, and we really not got into your lawsuit. Are there multiple people doing the lawsuit, or just you? I hear other people are considering about filing their own lawsuit. I'm sure everybody would be interested in that, so we may have to have you come back. But just kind of cap it. So basically, we're looking at that their bid process was corrupt. They're not certified, but they had to have a bid process. We have a multiple convicted felon gaining access to your property. You have
now, JJ, what does that, with this guy that got out of prison? Well, I mean, I don't understand what that is being brought up. He has a right to have a job.
Well, he has a right to have a job, but Bob, you have a right to not have a felon come to your house. So again, we have jobs. If you're going to go to work as OBN, you can't have a convicted felon working for OBN. There's certain jobs that you don't want. What do you want a child molester coming to your house? I don't.
They don't go into their house.
Yeah, but they come up there and they're accessing property, Bob. They're jumping over the gate.
Than going into your house.
Bob, don't defend them. You're looking bad, son. You're looking bad. Don't defend them. Well, I understand. Listen, I fight for Bob. Me and you's on the same page. I know where you're at. I fight for people to be able to go to work and have jobs and not have that stuff held against them. I think 10 years. But my understanding on this guy's got recent convictions. He's got multiple drug convictions. He's got trafficking convictions. He's not a guy I want at my house. I've got a guy. I've got some.
You didn't tell me all that.
Well,
hey, let me ask you a question before we go.
Yeah.
Have you've gone to the assessor, but she doesn't know how it's done? She's the elected assessor for the county, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Could she explain to you how it's done?
No. I mean, wait. No, because the contractor's done her job, every aspect of it. But two, her excuses, and this is actually written, and this is the way we've always done it. We've done it like this for 20 plus years. I've been in the assessor's office this long. This is the way we've always done it. But let me be very clear. Like, I'm going to be very clear. As a mother, there will be no felon of any kind think that they have a right to my property without my permission. There will be no county of any association with any government that doesn't want a background check and bestow authority upon individuals to come on my property. And if we agree to disagree, I'll set case law for that. Now, I believe it's already in the statute, but we have enough crime, we have enough theft, we have enough abuse, and to put the people and citizens who deal with this contractor in direct conflict. When you come outside and you see a man walking on your property and you have no idea what he's doing there, and you say, hey, can I help you? Do you have an appointment? What are you doing? I'm with the Mayes County Assessor's Office. I'm here to assess your property. I'm a deputy field inspector. No, you're not. You're not deputized. You don't have a background check. That's a lie. If you fall and you hurt yourself, the county's not liable for you.
Okay,
So,
let me say that where I live, there was a guy with the adding on to his property, and he did not go in and get a permit from the county. I mean, from more. He had to have a permit, a building permit. He didn't do that. Well, they came out, and they don't drive around and try to find business. I mean, they got enough business as it is. So when someone complained about it, they went out and looked. Well, hey, you didn't ask for this car. You didn't get this. You didn't get that. You got to tear that thing down. Well, they had a name on the side of their car, what it was. Now, if this guy's even going out on that he's doing this and doesn't even recognize that, does he have a business card?
No, they lie. They say they're with the Mayes County Assessor's Office.
And two, Bob, from the people I've talked to, like where you're talking about, because I've seen exactly where you're talking about, and you can drive right down the road and see that. You don't have to get on that guy's property. You can pretty much get the whole bird's eye view. A lot of these properties, they have a gate closed. They're crawling over that gate, accessing property and going, behind private property, walking up there. And again, the reason people got that gate, they don't want nobody up there. And again, I mean, I don't think they can access that. From what I've talked to, they don't have the authority to access that. Now, let me ask you a question before we jump off here. The AG has ruled, my understanding, he come back pretty much spanked her and said, hey, you got a lot of violations. I mean, he put the smackdown on her. From what I see, I looked at some stuff, and it looks like there's some serious violation. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I am a decent investigator. It looks like there's some major problem. She's sitting out here, the assessor, saying, oh no, all's good, everything's great, I'm awesome. Is that not the way is that the way this is being portrayed out? So again,
did you speak with the Attorney General, or did you speak to the Office of the Attorney General?
I spoke to the Attorney General. Yeah.
Drummond. You talked to Drummond.
Correct.
Yeah, and he's got something in writing. Correct? I mean, that right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That what I looked at was his. Yeah, it's in writing. Yeah. And here's the deal, Bob. It's in writing, and the assessor is still saying, instead of saying, okay, I think that it would be all right if she come out and said, okay, my bad. We've been doing this wrong. Let's correct it. Let's fix the problem.
Today he said, though, we got an election coming up. That representative and that senator, you ought to be out there trying to find somebody to run against them, because this is what they should be doing. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
The legislature, they pass the laws, but if they're not doing anything about it, just hee-hawing around, then they need to be replaced.
Well, I'm going to be making a video about what we're talking about. I'm going to be getting with you, Kindsey, working to get this information out, because this needs to go out to your entire area, and not just to your community, but to those. I understand that it doesn't sound like it's being violated as bad in some of those other counties, but it still sounds like it needs to be something that people are aware of and need across the state, not just. And this other thing that you're telling me, me and you going to have to get together, and you're going to have to give me the remedial school on this. I need remedial lessons on this vote of the people, because that's gotta, I'm going to tell you, that's what I'm fighting, is that if they went back and just changed the simple verbiage to try to beat the will of the people and a constitutional act, then we need to go. Hey, I want to tell you, I would love to talk. We're already past time. So we started just a few minutes late, but we're already a few minutes over. So we're running out of time. This has been awesome, interesting. We're going to have you come back, Bob, next week. I think what we're going to talk about, unbelievable. The lady that was let out 70 days. She's let out 70 days of prison, got for run over a girl, basically ruined her life, invalid now. She got 8 years. She got out. Did you see the video, Bob? Did you see that
real
video?
Quick, I'm going to tell you, I just listened to it on the radio. The lawyer was going through that whole detail. Need to get that lawyer to come on.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
He represents the person that the guy hit, that the lady hit.
Yeah, we need to find out. But did you see the video of the conversation between the man and the woman, her in jail, and he's getting to call her, and he's talking about, well, I got somebody really high. They're going to get this head DOC person, get you out, blah, 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 blah. Guess what? That's what we call, that family, they live down here, the old Lees. That's ugly. That's so ugly right there. I mean, that's capital UG ugly, Bob. That's unbelievable.
Well,
we got to get all over this.
I can't believe it myself.
We're going to get on it. We're going to get them next week. We're going to put the Spurs on. Y'all join us next week. We're going to put Spurs. We're going to have Kindsey. She's going to get me educated on this education time, on this vote of the people. We're coming back. Kindsey, thank you very much. Happy Mother's Day to you, and thank you for coming on. Bob, I appreciate your time as well. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you.